past that 5:15 time on July 18th, 2023. I will call the meeting to order. Jane, you want to do a roll call?
Rudolph.
Here.
Shaven.
Here.
Kroger.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Lindbergh.
Here.
We've all gotten the agenda. I don't think there's any changes, additions. No.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Lindbergh, second by Kroger.
Roll call Rudolph.
Aye.
Shaven. Kroger.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Lindbergh.
Aye.
Thank you.
And stating any conflicts now or as they come up along the way, we'll move on to the consent agenda. These are all under one motion and one roll call vote. We have the minutes of the July 5th council meeting, claims list number 1294 in the amount of $92,654.17. We had a chance to look at those, some of the larger items. Didn't look like there's anything
Smaller claim list.
too obvious. Normal things. Expenditure and revenue reports for the month of June of 2023. HMU sewer and landfill reconciliation report for June of 2023. Shelby County Sheriff statistical report for June of 2023. The renewal application for View and Family Enterprises, Inc., Class C retail alcohol license. And a new application for Dollar General Store, 25409, Class B retail alcohol license. Motion for the consent agenda items.
Second.
Motion by Rudolph, second by Peterson.
Roll call Rudolph.
Aye.
Shaven.
Aye.
Kroger.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Lindbergh.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next up, we have present to be heard, an update on the EMS and essential services by Mr. Tim Plum and Alex Londo. Team. Welcome, gentlemen.
So we've got some frequently asked questions sheets. That's a table on there. Oh, maybe. Okay. These are on our website, but figure we can send them out, and anybody else who would like a sheet is welcome to take one. But so I know I've met with you guys several times over the last year and just talked about the state of EMS and kind of what we're facing when Medevac they do retire and shut their doors. So why we're here today is Tim and I are both on the EMS Advisory Council that was set up by the board supervisors. Other members on that board are Roger Beeson for the city of Harlan. We've got Barry Jacobson for the hospital, Aaron Schluter for the city of Shelby, Janice Gall for the city of Erling, and Bryce Shaven for the board supervisors. And then Tim is the volunteer rep, and I'm for emergency management. So that was set up under the Iowa Code to start making EMS essential. That was Iowa Code 422D. And the board of supervisors has made it their resolution to put it to a vote on November 7th of this year, and it has to get 60% in favor vote to be an essential service.
Other people that vote.
Other people that vote, yep. So the goal is to create a new county-run ambulance service. It'll be under the board of supervisors, and the plan is to have 13 personnel, director, and then 6 paramedics and 6 EMTs that would provide 24/7 coverage with 2 ambulances all the time. And then we also have other, I can let Tim talk about some of the other stuff that we put in there with that, but we had, along with that, so we took a lot of feedback from other ambulance services along with personnel at Medevac on what they like and what they don't like about the on-call stuff, the schedules that they work and all that. So what we basically heard is, and got feedback from other people, if you want to drive and get employees, you want to not have them be on call the days they work and the days they don't work. So that's something we're trying to do and what we were able to do with this new schedule.
That's why there's will be 2 24/7 shifts that are on call. So that are at the station, available 24 hours a day, so nobody's sitting at home on call having to come in because they get called up.
And we took the average for calls in the last, I believe, 4 years, and it's been about, it's a very rough average, but 1 patient transfer a day and 1 911 call a day. So can't plan when those are gonna come in, and obviously some days are gonna get more than that one, but that's a very rough average, so that's what we're trying to go off of.
We're looking at just a rough $1.4 million budget, and that would set our tax levy to the max at what the state allows, is 75 cents per thousand. And then there'll be a 1% surcharge on the income tax, so the income tax they pay the state would be a 1% charge on that. And that'd bring in roughly 120,000. So we're looking at right around 840,000 there at a $1.4 million budget. So when we start this, we're gonna have to, it's gonna take a couple years to get that money built up to be able to implement this and get it started. So, and then with the help of Medevac and some other ones, where the billing revenue that comes in from transfers and stuff, we're looking at about 700,000, so, as a rough estimate. So, I mean, it's gonna take a little bit to get it up and running, get all the money situated, but we're hoping in this time frame, if this passes, we hire a supervisor 2024, June, the middle of 2024, and then at the end of 2024, start implementing and hiring and getting the staff built up. So that when that money comes in, because we won't see any money to start with, we'll have to wait until halfway through the year to get half of the tax money. So that's what the timeline is looking like. So when Medevac's basically phasing out, this is phasing in, is what the goal is. And it's not going to be it's going to be a fast-paced process, but it's going to take time to do it.
The numbers you just mentioned, that's in the FAQs, a sample.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's with the FAQ list.
In the FAQ, there's also property tax evaluation, the same with the tax evaluation on the property too.
And one thing that did come up at one of the hearings, because we've been going around to all the city councils and board supervisors and fire departments and just telling them the same stuff we're telling you today. There has been questions raised like, why are you using property tax? Why does it have to be property tax and income surtax? And the answer to that is that in 422D, they specify where the tax comes from. It can't be on the local option sales tax. It can't be on anything other than income surtax or a property tax. So if the legislation changes, the board of supervisors said they could consider, or you can consider taking it from different places, but that's where we have to take it from where it stands now.
And the other thing, when we've been going around the city, this is not replacing the volunteers at all. We still have to have the volunteers. They're the backbone. They've always been the backbone of EMS in this county, along with Medevac. And this isn't replacing them at all. They would still operate as they do today. This is just to supplement them. So if they have, like, personally, I'm from Irwin. I'm on Irwin Fire and Rescue, have been for 26 years. And when I joined, in '96, we had 18 people that were EMTs or first responders. Today, we have 4 that are on our roster. And all of us work out of town during the week. So it's hit or miss if somebody's around during the day. And that's why we need something like this, is to make sure somebody's coming to that scene and they're not waiting for hours at times.
That's a pretty common theme, isn't it, Tim, with each individual town, each department?
It goes around in circles. Some people will gain a couple and it'll bring back up, but in time, the volunteerism just isn't out there anymore. It's not there like it once was.
Because you're required to be trained pretty much the same way as
As a paid person.
Right.
The EMTs that would be paid on this, my training's the exact same as theirs. You need the same CEU hours and
There's been quite a few people who go away from volunteer, saying the word volunteer now, it's unpaid professionals is what they call it. So it's true. It does take a lot of hours. So like I said, we're just getting the information out there. And if the vote does not pass, there really is no plan B at this point. This is what the advisory councils looked at and said would be the best thing for Shelby County, or would make EMS work in Shelby County. I won't say the best thing, but if the vote does not pass and Medevac does close the doors when they retire, then we are solely relying on the volunteer services for EMS support.
to pick up that need, and it's not going to be feasible for volunteers to do that. So it's something that we need, and we need it. You know, we've had some people say, do we need like a medevac? And we do need a medevac. are that type of entity, because when the 911 call comes in at the comm center and goes out, you know, that call isn't finished until that patient gets to the end care that they need, whether that's in Harlan, Iowa, or whether it's down to the city in Omaha. And if somebody comes to Harlan and sits in Merchview for 3 or 4 hours waiting for a transfer down to a higher facility down in Omaha, we're not doing the benefit to our people of Shelby County with that tax value, in my personal opinion. It needs from start to finish on that call, because everyone had probably 3 months ago, we had a STEMI, which is a heart attack. And that person, we actually had all 4 of us around that night. And we were able to put a 12 lead on the patient, take a picture of it, send it to the hospital. Medevac, we cheered with Medevac right as we were leaving Irwin. And that person got to Harlan Hospital, and they actually coded once in the hospital, and they brought them back. And within 20 minutes, they were shipped down to Omaha with a stent put in with no complications, no end results. They're just as good as when they went in, and that's what you need to provide the best EMS coverage you can for the tax value. Yep. And this is what we feel is the best.
Yeah, and we did look at, because we've been looking at this, we started with an ad hoc committee, and now it's been more formalized with the advisory council, yes, thank you. And the job of the advisory council is to do nothing more than look at the current state of EMS in Shelby County and give response back to the board of supervisors. And then also we have to do a yearly report of how things go or how things are going in Shelby County with EMS. And then we did, when it was the ad hoc committee, I know we looked at what it would be to have another agency run it, such as a city or the hospital run EMS, or to have another private contractor. And I can say all the budgets were about the same. It just kind of, it made more sense to have it housed locally at a county level, because then they could distribute the funds, any other funds throughout the county as well.
We always have better retention with it at the county level. Not so being Crawford County runs theirs out of the hospital and they get a lot of turnover. We don't want this to be a turnover place. We want people to come and stay. We don't want something like this to be turnover. And along with this, in this budget, one of the goals was to help out the volunteers too, and $90,000 of this money's gonna be earmarked and tagged back to the volunteers. We haven't specifically figured out how we're gonna distribute that yet. Most likely it'll be a per call volume basis, but so this will eventually go back out to the volunteers too. And along with this being a county organization, hopefully we can get group buying power better. So all the ambulances out there could go together and buy stuff through the county and get distributed through the county. And then let's say everyone's got epi that's about to expire, we can move it around in the county so it might get used, because we probably never use it. You know, I've been on for 26 years and we probably won't use 2 or 3 of them. So, you know, that's stuff that expires that costs us money, and if we can move it around to where it might get used, we'll give them a better benefit with that money. So, and down the road, we're hoping to instill a billing person where we can, right now, like Irwin contracts with a private billing company to bill for insurance and stuff. And if we can centralize that within the county and have that done so the volunteers aren't paying an outside contractor to do that, it would be a better benefit to the volunteers too.
So that's the presentation in a nutshell. We're going to be doing some town halls. We're planning on doing around 4 or 5 of them. One of them will be in Harlan. It'll be closer towards the boat, because we're trying to just keep it fresh in people's minds while we're going through this. We'll do some up in the northern part, one in Harlan, one on the western half of the county, and then some down in the southern edge.
Elkhorn and
Shelby, yeah. Just so, because we want to get out there to where people are.
And this is, I mean, EMS, providing EMS coverage is not cheap. It's not. And the best part is us in Shelby County, for the years we've relied on the volunteers and Medevac, and Medevac's done a tremendous job over the years, and we've gotten by cheap by doing it. And it's just come to the time where the volunteerism's down and prices go up, so it's got to be funded somehow. And this is the best way that we found to do it.
Medical calls don't stop.
No.
I've heard it said a couple times by different people, you might never have a fire at your house, and you might never have to call the cops, but everybody gets an ambulance at least once in their life.
Yeah. Well, that's the general perspective when you call 911 is to have them there, that an ambulance is going to be there. So,
And that's one of
public
the
education.
things over the
Yeah.
years, we've never done a very good job of, as volunteers. We've never promoted what we do by
Yeah.
getting up in the middle of the night and going out.
Exactly.
People just come to expect it. They think it's just like fire, you dial 911, somebody's gonna show up and we don't have to worry about it. They're paid, they're coming,
Yeah.
That's not the case.
I know it's been spoken to before through the process, and as it continues to ramp up, the importance of education. And that is one of the ahas.
Yeah.
Is that fire, law enforcement, those are deemed essential. So what the state has authorized, that allows counties to do is let the county citizens determine, right, do they want EMS essential as well? And that is, I think, one of the ahas, and I think a lot of education
And that's when we've gotten
is
most
required around that.
city councils, it's been informative. That's what it's, a lot of them didn't realize what we do and what it takes.
What are you, as you've been to other departments and some other councils, what are some of the things you're hearing?
We haven't heard a lot of stuff back. It's more been everybody just taking in the information because they didn't realize what was going on. But
I think the only two things that we've heard back, and not necessarily as negative, but more as questions back to us, is the one about why it has to be property tax. And then another one was if your ambulance service area is, let's say Walnut.
you live in Shelby County, but you're actually in Walnut's territory. Does that tax money go to Walnut instead of Shelby County?
And currently it does not. There is some priorities, like some ISAC priorities to make that legislation change to where it can go out. And it kind of becomes the same way that fire is, not to change it to township, but to distribute the money out more. But like, it doesn't now, so it would be for the county you live in is where the money would go. And that's, just the way it works right now.
So like I say, most of it's just been informal. People just didn't realize. We all are under the understanding it's just like the fire department. We call 911. The rescue's part of the fire, and they're going to show up. A lot of people don't understand that's two different, and they're housed in the same buildings a lot of times, but it's two different entities a lot of times.
Yeah. Alex, are you guys using like social media or anything like that outside the town halls? I mean, as far as like pages or videos, or because public education is going to be your key.
Yeah. So I know we have used some social media. We have to be careful of which pages we post it on, because if it's an advocating for a yes vote, it can't come from an office that's funded by tax dollars already.
Okay.
So like the ESA has been putting some money in, which is a separate organization that has money that's not tax money, to do PR and things like that. The newspaper's also been doing a lot of stories on it. And I know there's been some news, like television, like Channel 7 has done some stuff that we shared before.
KCCI is a big one, Des Moines,
Yep.
I think it was 8 videos last year in a succession talking about the state of EMS throughout the whole state. And like me personally, on Irwin's fire and rescue page, I've been linking all them, trying to get them out there and get people to see it. Along
deal.
with the newspaper articles.
I heard Roger on the radio the other day too, talking about it and giving pretty much the same information. So it was really good.
And we're, from what the people who are doing the PR, one of the biggest things that the other counties that have gotten this vote passed have said is focus a lot of your efforts towards the vote, because people will forget about it. Like if you push it all towards March and May and June, by the time November rolls around, people will just not have remembered it. So do it towards the later part.
That's why we've been kind of holding off on a lot of it. Like Alex said, about a year and a half ago, we started this advisory council, and at the beginning of this year, we started doing some stuff, and we just kind of waiting until that crunch time, basically.
Seems like wait till less than that.
Where can individuals go to find out more information about some of
The county's website, under departments, you go down to EMS Advisory Council. We hold monthly meetings. The third Thursday morning of every month, 7 o'clock at the Harlan Fire Hall. They're all public, they're all posted, the minutes are posted on that website. The facts and questions, answer sheets posted on that website, and any of this other stuff that we're gonna have will be posted on there.
Just want to come back to the vote itself, which, what specifically does the vote authorize?
So it authorizes tax dollars to be collected for EMS. So the only way that EMS is funded currently is, well, like currently you guys are a part of the ambulance commission, so that is what's paying for medevac now. But this allows for the county to be able to tax, especially at the county level and the levy for EMS. And then it has to, since we're not one of the most, I guess, 10 populous counties in the state, we have to get it re-voted on in 15 years. So we have to evaluate it every year, and then in 15 years we have to vote on it again to make sure we still want to continue to tax.
That's about all. Do you guys have any more questions? We thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Letting us come and
Yeah.
present to you.
Have there been other counties that have been through the process? Maybe I
Yes.
missed that.
There was eight counties that actually last year went to the vote. 5 of them passed, 3 didn't. The 3 that didn't, the reason they said it didn't pass was lack of information out there to the public.
And are they close, those counties close to us, or?
I can't.
No, most of them are in the central and eastern part of the state.
Wright County was one of the early ones to do it, that passed it. And by looking at their information, a lot of their stuff, they had 2 hospitals based out of that county, so they had paid staff at the hospitals. So a lot of the money that they made for the essential services was going back to the volunteers that basically pay them to go on calls and stuff. But, this is more what we're gonna need for our county, to adapt to our county.
You said you're shooting for 75 cents on the 1,000.
Yeah, we're maxing it out, yeah.
Seems minimal. If you have an emergency and want somebody to show up at your house to help.
Yeah. I will say that if Medevac were to close their doors during the day, if you rely on volunteers for just Harlan, that's 3 people.
Yeah.
And they can't leave their job for every call.
We got 43 EMS people in Shelby County. So if you break it out by population, that's 1 for 243 people. So 1 person for every 243 people.
And Harlan averages, it's more than 1 call a day. I want to say it's like 1.7 or something like that. But, and obviously, again, that's a hard way to look at it because sometimes you get 6 calls in a day and sometimes you don't get in. But, yeah, and I will, and not to talk negatively about any other counties or anything, but I will say that there are counties who I've talked with that do rely on the volunteers, and since it is a volunteer basis, you might get a call, I'll say Harrison County, they get a call that comes out in Missouri Valley and they're getting an ambulance from Woodbine because that's the only people that can staff a call. And they might wait an hour and a half, and that's something we don't want to have happen.
Golden hour.
Well, thanks for your time. and
Yeah, information.
A lot of work, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Next up is review the Harlan entrance sign bids.
We have 2 items related to this project on the agenda this evening. The first is to review the bids that we had sent out. Again, this is a number of times up to bat on this project, and it, again, relates to the design that was prepared a few years back that we've been out and been on, and this is that design. Proposed, we have authorization for 2 locations for this, and those locations still are allowed. One would be on the south entrance down by Van Diest, and the other would be coming in from the north, just below the water tower on the hillside there, are the 2 locations that remain. As you may recall, due to the previous funding streams, both federal and state, there were just, they simply did not fit this type of project, and so this rebid was done totally on a local, it was a local bid. We sent it out to all the previous bidders. Our engineer on this has been Kirk and Michael since the beginning. So this bid, we did receive 2 bids. One of them was not qualified for 2 reasons. One is it came in late, and then secondly, they did not bid on all the items. They simply bid on the shell signs and said, more or less, figure out the rest, or we can find someone local to do some of the soil prep. And so for those 2 reasons, that was thrown out. The recommendation in your packet was from, if I want to pull that up, was from so as you, the recommendation of award, this is from our engineer, is again, we actually had 3, we'll say local regional companies. We had a couple local companies take out the plans and specs, and either due to timing and or beyond their capabilities, it just didn't yet. Prairie Rose Sign and Canopy, which is within the area, and they do a lot of work in the Shelby County area. They recently did the new signage on Beth's Auditorium, for example. So that is the bid that's being recommended. The original cost estimate from 3 years ago was $120,000. Costs have changed substantially. Materials of acquisitions have changed. So despite those items, still recommending to award this to Prairie Rose Sign and Canopy. And it specifically indicates for the seating, about $25,000 of that cost was for seating, plants, and landscaping. And we're recommending to go out and contract that separately. And Prairie Rose and Sign, so in the updated bid, you saw that in your packet. That items 1 and 2, and the signs total that $144,150, right? And then we would go out and contract separately for the landscaping, final grade, and seed. And if we were so to move forward with this, which I would also recommend, what our engineer is recommending, is that with the next step on the agenda, would have a resolution to authorize this award, and then we would come back to actually have a contract approved. Just once again to provide more opportunity. We did provide a late start date or late completion date of next spring. So based upon time of your bid, if the contractor couldn't get it in this fall, it could be done next spring, but there would be an end point to it. What questions do you have on updates and information?
Other than we've made it in 5 years.
Happy to see it finally at this stage.
Much needed project. I think will do a lot to enhance and keep us much more modern. Some of the looks that you see it coming in other communities, and certainly I think we all would like to see that improved.
Any other questions, comments about this? Okay.
Got
Thanks,
my
Jim.
counsel long enough, you should
Looking
make it.
forward to checking that one out.
Yeah, that was the state who's been on there the longest.
Thanks a number of us.
All right, then I would move on to resolution number 2537, making the award of the contract to the Harlan Entrance Signs Project to Prairie Rose.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Kroger.
Roll call Rudolph.
Aye.
Shaven. Kroger.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Lindberg.
Aye.
It's a big check mark. It's an old, use an old pen for that one, so,
That must have been your good luck charm.
yeah, that's what you are, Kyle. Good luck. Next up, City Administrator's Report.
Very active time, I think, for many organizations, and certainly our City of Harlan teams as well. Plenty of stuff going on, and some updates I'll pass along. Tonight, once again, at the Community Garden from 6 to 7:30. So following the meeting, if you want to stop down to the Community Garden, I know there's a tent set up already, and for any information or education that individuals might want about community gardening and wants and needs, as well as what's currently happening, they are set up from 6 to 7:30 this evening. Earlier today, and actually as the meeting just started, I heard some aerial activity overhead. So the airport, certainly some timely rains have helped some crops. So the spraying season is well underway now. So as you hear some of the extra aerial activity in the sky, that's due to the airport. One other timely update on the airport. We just received notice from our engineer today that the draft project list has been provided by the State Aviation Bureau, and our hangar door improvements on Hangar 3, which we made a vertical infrastructure application for, that tentatively appears approved, which can continue to hangar improvements out there, make satisfied tenants, and also when we make those hangar improvements with doors, we do charge more on hangar rent to do those improvements. So expect that we'll see over the next 60 days some engineering agreements as well as bid documents going out for the hangar doors. Other updates. Streets. Heard someone comment on the way here that they had to drive around either on the middle street or the weather's created a few challenges. Most timely update is that Willow Street up to 16th, from 12th to 16th, and it may already be to 19th. They were hopeful to have most all of Willow complete today with that overlay process. Finish out to the highway tomorrow on Willow, and then tentatively Thursday, Friday is when Durant Street from 12th to 19th would be completed. Have had some feedback. There's been a concentrated effort between social media, door knocks, and also postings on some doors to notify all the residents. There are a couple of stretches on Willow and Durant from 12th. So during that paving process, residents are restricted for a period of hours, so they need to park off street. So if they, I talked to one person today that I'm not sure what the mix-up was, but if they didn't get the door knock, if they were gone to work already, but they came home at 3 o'clock this afternoon and they couldn't get up Willow, and they were being told to park and have to walk until the pavement. So understand the frustrations, doing our very best to use a lot of communication methods. We'll continue to try to improve that, but there are a couple of stretches there. For the most part, we're pushing out communication, and those are heavily traveled areas. Baldwin's complete, so if you've driven Baldwin, hopefully see those improvements. Morning View's done, 9th Street's done. So the paving should be complete by end of week, all things going well between equipment and weather. There will be some final cleanup items in which one of the subcontractors will need to come back and do some final seeding and cleanup around those crosswalks and intersection areas. Some significant improvements, and the old adage, which I've stated all along, some short-term gain for some, short-term pain for some long-term gain. So any questions or feedback you've all had, again, we're proceeding nicely.
Yep.
Had a few traffic control issues last week, but that's been cleaned up this week. A lot of activity going out there with our street work. The storms last week on Wednesday, so that first that came through with some significant high winds, created, some areas that had some branches down, nothing significant. We did have a couple of businesses on the south edge of town that had some roof damage. One item that we've learned, and Alex has left by now from EMA, but had feedback or some complications with one of the building owners that, as far as where to dispose of their building material or debris. And since it wasn't a large-scale event, there was no type of disaster declaration. It makes it challenging because our local landfill, unless it's in certain sizes, so someone's generally not going to cut up or size down their material so we're, our Shelby County landfill's a transfer station. So there were some complications in how to best dispose and timely dispose of some of their building materials. One of the items that we're already starting to look at is what would our plan be or approach in a non-disaster declaration situation. A lot of times you'll see it in a rural area, maybe out in a farmstead where in an unfortunate situation where possibly a machine shed or some other damage, and generally they can dispose of that right on the property in some form or fashion. little more complicated. We've got 1 or 2 small areas or 1 or 2 buildings. We'll look to improve that process as well. Although it's post July 4th, we have received some additional fireworks complaints, believing it's gone on too long. Can enforcement be better? Can we ban fireworks altogether? Passed a few of those along. Additional comment, these conversations I've had the last 2 days have been, well, why can't Shelby County and Harlan reduce the time in which fireworks can be sold? So just provide less availability. And again, within the fireworks, it was passed 2018 at the state level or 2017. The sales are, so local jurisdictions can moderate or adjust the sales times. It's June 1st to July 8th, and I think December 23rd to January 2nd. Those are the dates they can be sold. So even if, as a governing body, you so chose to try to restrict the times of sales, currently the way the state legislation is that can't be reduced. We had less than, at least as far as formalized calls, Sheriff, we had 7 formalized calls, which kind of trends for the last number of years. And it's another one of those challenging issues. There's items on both sides of the fences. It's not excessive. Sometimes others feel it is. So just passing along the information. I don't know there's a great solution. And we'll continue to provide that to you. And if you have questions or want to read that further, let me know. We had an opportunity just yesterday with HMU, learn more about a water and sewer line service program, and are wanting to do a follow-up with our wastewater, public health and sanitation, and I believe a few members from the HMU committee to learn more about that program. It's a residential service line program, so as well as in-home plumbing program. So a couple of components that it's essentially a reimbursement program or insurance from where the public service stops to where your responsibility begins as a resident. A lot of this, so I think some great education around that, and is at a program that like 118 other cities in Iowa have adopted this program and endorsed it. So we're going to set up a committee meeting to educate and review that further to determine if that's an arrangement or agreement we would like to partner with. So I know those on our public health and sanitation. I think that's Sharon, Sharon, RJ, and Richard. So we'll coordinate that with HMU to have a follow-up information meeting before determining bringing that to council. But I think it could be a wonderful program, we believe, and a benefit to our residents, and it's optional. So more information to come on that program. Always like to provide a reminder, fire department meeting last night, and just to create continued awareness that if you have an interest in serving and providing, joining a volunteer fire department, Harlan has a wonderful department. There are banners, some social media that they're continuing to push out. So any interest in joining and serving the fire department, certainly reach out to Fire Chief Beeson, stop at City Hall, and we can, I'm sure all of you could direct individuals as well. So continued awareness around that. And then the last 2 items I have, had the opportunity to attend yesterday. A few of you were there as well, but the groundbreaking ceremony for the improvements at the school. So that was yesterday. Great to see a wonderful turnout there. One of our key assets in our community, healthcare and education, are 2 of our strong assets, and to see that project kicking off was very nice. And lastly, had an opportunity last week to attend a conference, and I'll push this information out, just received the PowerPoint today. I referenced it at the chamber meeting, just a snippet of it. Yet it was our entire morning session was around telling the rural story. Certainly we're rural in Shelby County, we're rural here in Harlan. And the presenter was out of the University of Minnesota, Ben Winchester, and he's been studying rural changes in demographics for 20 plus years. And there were 75 of us in the room, and a lot of aha moments. And one of the main takeaways was the narrative so oftentimes we hear across America and here in the Midwest is that rural is dying. Or rural is struggling. And he had, I mean, a number of slides that had, you know, local, regional, and national reports with those headlines. And as you really dig into the data and understand it further, rural is changing. Rural is far from dying or going away. And a number of aha moments around how to change that narrative, yet also what it means for things like housing, which, and this may be the last comment on this, and we'll send the information out to determine what but specific to housing, the question was asked, how many in the audience have housing needs? And 100% of the hands went up. Housing is another one that it's also changing, yet there was a word of caution that because of the silver tsunami and the boomers, that be very intentful and aware as to what types of housing and how you move people through a housing cycle, that possibly in 15 to 20 years, some communities would think, oh, we need to build, and we need these 3 or 4 new subdivisions and 50 lots in a subdivision. That may look a lot different in 15, 20 years with the housing availability of those in the 70+ range. And where's that housing stock going, and what are you doing to take care of and educate people about other options as well as protecting that housing stock. So I'll share that information with you. Very insightful, but the main message was just, I guess, all of us living and enjoying the rural area, that helping change the narrative. That it's, rural's not dying or struggling, it's changing as the rest of the world with globalization. So with that, I'll end my updates and comments, but any comments or questions you have for me? Otherwise, not a lot going on.
Doesn't seem like it. Thank you, Gene.
Thanks, Gene. I don't really have anything to my report. Move on to Shelby County Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Todd Delaney.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
So as Gene mentioned, we had our all-members meeting today and reviewed some of the successes we had in fiscal year '23. Talked a little bit about, if you remember right back in the fall when we did that Move Here It's Better program and targeted it at Omaha, and talked about some of the statistics that were generated from there. Like I said, it's a difficult one for us to measure, although we have seen an uptick in the welcome list that we get from HMU. So they give us a list of addresses of new hookups every month, and we take out a welcome to Shelby County package to them, and we have seen that increase. So hopefully that campaign was a part of that. Then we also talked about the Make My Move program that we presented here before, and how we're going to use that now to try to attract some remote workers. We'll be working with our local businesses to put together incentive opportunities along with some of our other organizations. Marshalltown is actually using it to recruit businesses, so we may find ourselves transitioning to that depending on how we do with just recruiting individuals. But like as an example, right now Marshalltown has 3 very specific retail businesses they want to add to their town. So they're out there on that same platform, but they're telling people if you bring one of these 3 retail businesses to our community, we'll give you an incentive fee to do that. So that might be something that we could look at in the near future. The other thing that we discussed with them is, and I don't have a bunch of pop and circumstance to show with it right now because we just found out about it last week, but our website partner Chamber Nation, that is kind of the backbone for our website, they have upgraded their software, and there's going to be a lot of changes visually that are going to be coming to our website, just really modernizing it. One of the great parts of this new change is we're going to be able to very quickly move information across platforms, from social media to our website, and from our website to social media. So we can make sure that we keep everything as up to date as possible as far as announcements of events that are taking place or other things that are going on throughout Shelby County. So we're looking forward to that. And so yeah, no, meeting went really well, and really happy and really looking forward to it. I told them, I don't know why, but I've got a feeling fiscal year '24 is going to be a great for Shelby County. something's gonna pop. It's just like there's just too much out there bubbling in the background. Something really cool is gonna happen here in the next year, and I'm looking forward to it. All right? Any questions? Okay.
Thanks, Todd. HMU, Joe Ruschenberg.
Hello, everyone.
Joe.
Just got a couple things. Gene had mentioned the ribbon cutting or groundbreaking for the school. That kind of got me thinking, and I talked to Todd about, we got our contractor starting actually tomorrow, McCarthy Trenching, on our water project. That we're looking at Thursday morning, 10:30, having a groundbreaking ribbon cutting down in our south well field to kind of kick that off. Hopefully get some information in the paper, out on social media, just so everybody kind of knows that project is starting. And maybe get a little update as far as timeline and everything with the contractor. So I plan on having that 10:30 Thursday morning down at the south well field. And the only other thing I was going to mention, piggybacking on that last storm, we did have that outage, and I think that kind of affected kind of the southwest part of town. Guys did get out that morning, after the wind laid down there, did get out, and they had everybody back up again, probably 45 minutes to maybe an hour. There was a few stragglers there. Don't know quite what happened. We had a fault that tripped out at the west substation, and that's kind of where we lost power there. We don't know if those high winds, didn't find any trees in the 69 kV line that circles the city from substation to substation. Only thing maybe we thought of is the wind got going and a couple of the wires got close enough together that they arced across, and that's what, tripped the west substation, but they were able to get that back up and going fairly quick. So. Any questions for me otherwise?
Very good this evening. Thank you.
Shelby County Sheriff's update. Sheriff Gross.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Good.
I don't have a lot. A couple updates on our end. I know we all should receive the email packet as far as updates on statistics. But otherwise, K9 Enzo is recertified, and he is with Deputy Lee White as a handler. So he is on the streets now. He's certified up and running, and he's having a heyday. We had him out the other day. He's a ball of energy. So we look forward to seeing what he'll do. We've got all positions hired. I think they brought that up last time. We've got all but 2 currently that are off of FTO, and they are out on their own right now. So we're hoping mid-August we can get 1 more out on his own, and then I've got the last individual. I'm not going to kick him on his own until after he is sent to the academy, which he's scheduled for actually a January 3rd academy. So he won't be going in January, but he'll be with somebody up until then and learn what he can here. So when he does go to the academy and comes out, he'll be ready to go. So I did do a couple of promotions within our office with the added positions. Deputy Jake Haas has been promoted to sergeant, and Deputy Nathan Paisley also has been promoted to sergeant. So those guys are in their new roles, new shifts, they're doing well. They're learning as well. We're going to get them in some leadership courses and different things like that, but they're doing great already in those positions. Last week I went out with Captain Butler, and we met with Iowa Western Community College out here. I spoke with Gene and Jane a couple times on some swipe cards that have been floating around through their doors. They were able to just cancel those old swipe cards. They got lost, I think, in the shuffle, and reissued 5 new ones that will be put in cruisers, and then we went over a safety briefing with them and some other things that will follow when out there at the college. So we also met last week as well, the same day, actually, I think it was last Wednesday, with Shelby County Catholic Schools before the students come in, and we went over their report back, their safety evaluation that they had done, contracted through the state. Went through some things that were obviously a necessity in our opinion. Top of their list, so they're going to use some of that funding from the state to go ahead and address some of those issues. And we are scheduled to do some training with them in the near future as well. So otherwise, on my side of things, it's going pretty smooth. I mean, honestly, we're enjoying it. full staff, everybody seems happy and is coming to work and ready and after it. So we haven't been slow by any means. The summer always seems to pick up. Kyle can attest to that. But it's good. It's good. So, any questions, concerns, comments, anything you guys have?
I would add on the administrative side that communication between this office and the sheriff's office, which was very solid before, continues to, so the issues have come up. We've sat down with the sheriff and if need be a captain and a staff member or two here just to work out some wrinkles and been very responsive. Found some one or two animal control situations that what does that assistance look like? What should it look like? Wouldn't say it's 100% perfect, but just the working relationship and communication is just one of the key elements we thought would make this work. And we're not done yet, obviously. It's ongoing, and that helps tremendously. So
I have noticed the fluency has just seemed so much better. And not that it was lacking prior, but anytime you combine it, the fluency is just overwhelmingly better. It's seamless, it seems like right now, and we've had the ability with a larger number of staff members to handle some of those other calls that we would have normally called additional people out for. We're fluid through it and we take care of the call. The staff that's on hand, a lot less call out, a lot less overtime. We're seeing the things we thought we'd see, we're starting to see. So.
And people are actually getting time off, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of them already, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of good to see.
Yeah, if crime could just subside for 1 week, so everybody could take a break, and we'll reconvene next Tuesday. Sounds like a plan to me.
Hurt your budget though?
No. No. It'd actually help it, probably.
What else do you guys got? I know I haven't been over that. I know I sent Cody, our chief deputy, and our captain the last two, but you have an idea for me more than what the person talking about.
Appreciate your time.
You guys have been doing great, so.
No, I appreciate that. We're getting some feedback, but not a lot. Maybe that's a good thing.
The cars look good.
What I hear.
Good.
Cars do look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did relabel the cars pretty quickly, just to make sure that those got out there, they were marked, and it wasn't just an off unit driving around, so they look good, they turned out nice.
Yeah, they did.
Anything else for me?
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
You're excused.
You bet.
I always wanted to say that to the sheriff.
Moving on to public comments. Have anything you want to address the council with tonight from the public? Yes, sir. Come to the podium. Yep, come on up. Let us know who you are and what you had to say.
My name is Brian Burns. I'm a born resident of Harlan and worked a lot of different places. Started to own property here over a decade ago and moved back recently more 100%. I think you may all know what subject I want to just enlighten. A fair parade entry that had an opening casket, obvious. I've spoken with a couple of people in the room, and I appreciate their time that they gave me. And I've really come with the offer to try to be a part of a solution, to be a part of a discussion rather than blaming or finger pointing, etc. I think it would be important that a specific meeting outside of the city council agenda, that I would love to be a part of a meeting like that to discuss effect that this has had, not only in the town, but regionally and also now nationally through social media. It's something I feel needs to be discussed, addressed, and areas in which we can improve. So I send out my invitation as an offer to be a part of the solution. I hope that a meeting of some sort could be pulled together that involves some of the city council members, Shelby County Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the county supervisors, the Shelby County Fair Board, et cetera. I mean, concerned parties that may, I feel, need to address this. And I have to assume, and you are all completely aware of this, and you've already put in a considerable amount of time with this consideration at this point, which I highly appreciate. So if and when a sort of a discussion, open discussion, solution, resolution, conflict resolution, whatever it might be, I think that would be an important thing to happen for this community. That's my statement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Anybody else have any comments this evening?
None on my end.
Nope.
Bike night tomorrow night,
Friday night,
Yep.
Thursday night.
Thursday night, yeah, it's Tuesday, yeah,
It is Tuesday.
that's right.
Go early.
Yeah. Get a good seat.
Excited.
All right, meeting adjourned.